Welcome to BitPlayer1's weekly market analysis. As always, we'll start at the S&P 500. Nothing new in the monthly chart or the weekly, so we'll go to the daily, because here's where the action is. So this is now the important zone for the trend break. Nothing really much to say. This is interesting. It looks better on the daily. So see these lows coming in? Low, higher low, barely higher low. Could this be a new higher low and we're actually going to test up for another all-time high? You never know. It's looking doom and gloom. Things aren't looking that great. We did just reject off this trend line, but the main trend is intact. We got low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So as long as these lows are higher, we're good. Sticking with the daily chart and moving on to the Nasdaq. This one's a little harder to read. I mean, it's the same story. We're potentially breaking down long term. This one actually is more convincing because we have this top, and those are basically a double top. I know they're not the exact same level, but they're close enough to where this and this is basically a double top. So there's that. This trend line is just there. This one has definitely been violated, but the main thing is the higher lows. It's crazy how simple it is, but just the definition of a trend, an uptrend is higher lows, higher highs. A downtrend is lower lows, lower highs. So until the trend breaks, the trend is your friend. And we have low, higher low, higher low. We'll see. Maybe we get another higher low. The low gets formed when you can actually see the V shape. You know, like an actual, it has to move away from it for it to actually be a low. So we're still on this leg down. We'll see what happens to it. But same as the rest, potential breakdown, watch for this low. I'm actually going to mark this as a trend break line, just so we know this is the important zone for the trend break. Moving on to the Dow Jones, which is telling us a little bit of a different story. Technically, just like the others, we are getting higher lows, and this one has this longer term trend line that's being respected. Yes, we're in the zone, so that means watch out. We're in the watch zone. These candles here, the way they're just so smoothly lower highs, makes me think that's an algorithm. So this is what it looks like when a bigger player is trying to exit their position without freaking out everybody, right? Like a big company like BlackRock or something, they have billions of dollars and they need a way to get out without really disrupting things. So they use like a Python script that's just going to auto sell at these areas and they form slightly lower highs. So this could be a signal that we're getting someone big exiting the market. And really that's what we're doing here with the charts. We are looking for signals of someone that actually has control of the market as to what they're doing. We're trying to see the footprint of the big boys. High volume, right? The volume is pretty high here on down days. So we're getting increasing volume as we go down. Yes, we're respecting the trend line and we're getting higher lows, but things are looking worse and worse as we go on. But as always, let's mark our trend break area. This is the low to watch. It's kind of like, if that one breaks, we still have this one, right? This area that could be the true low to watch. But like you can see, this one has definitively marked its spot. These other ones, yeah, they bounced, but it hasn't gone as far. Like this one was a very clear change of direction here. So that's what I mean by like this one is a definitive low. These are a little like kind of sketchy, like which one is the actual low? Could that even be a low? I would say these are pretty important, but this one in my book would be the true one to watch. If that one breaks, that would also put us near the bottom of the trend line. So we might get some confluence here where we come down and bounce back up, but it's a stock market index here, the Dow Jones, so they're all going to follow each other, the indexes. Okay, this one's a little more exciting. We got the Russell 2000 here. And we had these trend lines going strong, but these are now flipping to resistance because we are below both of them now. I know I mentioned look out for what happens when these trend lines cross. So let's zoom in a bit, look at the hourly, and kind of just inspect what happened here. Look at this. This is good. So we touched the trend line area and we had a huge reaction. Like this wick is like skirt, right? Like there was movement and there was a reaction at this point. But this is a stock market index. This is the small caps, which means it's more risky. So if the market is turning around, these ones are way more susceptible to people just dumping. So let's get back on track. And what I would say here is this actually looks like in my head, I can picture what the hourly candles look like here. These are daily candles, but it looks like we came here, came back up for a retest on the trend line, which shows how great these trend lines are because we just retested it and then now we're headed back down. It's harder to see on hourly. Yeah, here we go. This looks the best. So we dropped out of it and now we're using it as a top. So yeah, you can see we're using this as a top now. And it shows on the daily as well. Like I said, I could just tell that this is what that looked like. Right? Like when you see these daily candles, you can kind of, when you do it long enough, you can see, kind of guess what the inside of them look like. So yeah. Basically, my overview here is all of the index are starting to look worse and worse. Yeah. The ones that were looking better are beginning to look bad now, too. Okay, we have the US dollar here. And I like to look at the monthly just to kind of see where we're at. This one, man, this one looks like we're bottoming. I mean, just because of the trend line. That's why I say that. But, yeah, interesting. And this kind of makes sense. If the stock market is about to roll over, the dollar should start to go up because the stock market is priced in dollars. When you buy a stock, it's X amount of dollars. So when the dollar goes up, the stocks usually go down and vice versa. It's not that simple, but, rule of thumb. We just had a kind of big breakdown, right? So low, lower low, even lower low. We got to this trend line area. There's also a horizontal line here. And then we broke through it. We went all the way to the midline of the trend line and actually caught. And then we recovered this line. Now we're actually out. We're back out, This could have been just a big ol', right? Like, we were chilling in this zone for a while. This could have been a quick stop hunt, trigger everybody's stop loss orders, and then now where you might start going up. This is a long-term triangle, and even on the daily chart, just looking, it's getting fairly tight, right? Like, I guess it's a pretty big move for it to get all the way up to this part of the triangle, the top trend line, but yeah, interesting things with the dollar. It's really hard for me to tell you what I think, but we could be bottoming out on the dollar, which would correlate with stock market going down, etc. This correlates, this checks out. We might be bottoming. That might have been a big old stop hunt. We've recovered these levels and we're moving. All right, and for probably the most terrible looking chart, let's do weekly Bitcoin. Not the most terrible. I should give respect to Mr. Bitcoin here because it's a pretty powerful thing. Not just from the profitability, but the technology itself is powerful. So, anywho, before I get off on a tangent, we're breaking down. Yep, I said it. I said, look, we're breaking out of this trend line last week, but I said there's a little bit of hope, tiny bit of hope with these lows. Those have all been violated now. We're totally below this. We are now into this zone here, this weekly zone, which let's see where it started. So this goes all the way back to the 2021 top, and it also goes to the bottom back in a year ago. So we're in the zone. The next low to watch for, which we'll mark here, and we'll do it as our trend break line. If we break this 74, the next low is down here at 48, which is wild. I know I don't use these much, and I think we got to graduate to more important tools sometime, so let's get our fib out. I'm going to leave this on the chart, but so let's explain a little bit. The Fibonacci is basically where you look for a low and a high, and you draw from the bottom low to the high, and then it gives you these like areas to watch for based on like mathematics and stuff, and they're just really good when something's dropping and you're trying to figure out where's this thing going to bottom out. So yeah, basically I drew from this November 2022 up to the October 25 all-time high, the full trend line, and then when we zoom in to the daily here, we could see actually that we have some confluence, right? Like, so here is the most important the lower low here that we need to watch for, and then we have the 50% Fibonacci, which means from the bottom to the top, it's now come back 50%. That's what these numbers mean. So in this zone, we have the 50% Fibonacci, which could potentially mean something here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We will see. I hate to continuously say there's a chance with Bitcoin because that's how it always goes, right? Crypto bear market, they're like, oh no, it's going to catch here, or no, it's just a buy, paper hands, diamond hands, whatever. There are a lot of things, like this one is very, very tough to pinpoint, and the way I treat it is you're never going to catch the bottom, you're never going to catch the top. So your best bet is to just buy little tiny bits over time. Every time it goes down like a lot, just buy a little more. Or I just buy a little more, because this is not financial advice, and I would never tell anyone what to buy or sell ever. But the way I treat it is, here, I would buy a little bit, right? And then when we get to this fib, I'll buy 1.5 times more than what I bought here, right? So if I was going to use $100, I would do $100 here, then I would do 150 here. Then if those fail, I would wait for this 618 because that's the most important Fibonacci, that's the golden ratio, and then I would buy 250. Right, so like I put 100 here, I would put 150 here, and then here I'd put 250. If we get down here, I'd put a whole grand. If we get down here, I'll do another $3,000. You know what I'm saying? As it gets lower, I will go much harder. And then my average would equal out to be like this line. So all I needed to do is come up to here, now I'm break even. Not saying that I'm like doing it to break even, but my now break even level is much lower. I can start to, and I would start to sell a little bit when we get back up to the 618, right? If my break even's here, I would sell, let's say I accumulated $5,000 worth, I would sell $250 worth there. Very tiny, right? But actually selling and getting in the routine of buying and selling all the time, little bits, really, really levels you up. But yeah, so overall picture, Bitcoin looking terrible. Basically everything we've looked at is looking pretty bad, except the dollar looks like it might be going up, which correlates with everything else looking bad. All right, gold. And I apologize, I missed gold last week, and gold is like one of the most important things to watch. Bear with me, I'm new. Hopefully week by week these videos get better. They're more informative, they help. But we have had some amazing calls, literally, in the couple weeks I've been doing this. But monthly chart, gold. This candle looks terrible. Reason being, this huge wick. It was a green candle, or it was an up candle. I like to use all gray so you don't get caught up in the green and reds. You just kind of look for the movement. But this wick is big. And then when we look at a weekly chart, this is a terrible candle. Huge wick, and it ended up red. Right? Now we're getting the new week follow through. But we have this green trend line, so that's going to be interesting. We're looking at it live here. Let's go. Zoom in. Actually, you know what? Back to the monthly. We'll mark this now as a new monthly line. Okay. To the weekly. Nothing new to mark. All right, daily. I kind of like marking my zones. I think that's a zone. I just like whatever. I'm just going to do the executive opinion that this is a zone. But it's crazy the way this played out. But bear with me here. This could be. Here's the last low. I mean, I guess this is a low and this is a low. Right? I guess this one would be more of an official. Well, they're all official, but this would be the last, like, kind of true low before this. And technically, we have not broken it. This could be just an extremely fast higher low, right? Like a brutal drop into a higher low, and then the uptrend totally intact. We just tested this trend line. We might be confirming this trend line again. This could be totally fine. I happen to know someone myself that shorted this and nailed it. And here is how I did it. This is what I'm looking at, right? Like, I'm looking at, long time of action, price action here, and this looks healthy, right? Like consolidation, climb up, some kind of consolidation, climb up, and then here we're starting to get kind of parabolic. I mean, like the trend goes from this to this. Like once it looks like, I was gonna say like an airplane, like you got lift, or a rocket ship, like literally. Like here is an airplane, this is a rocket ship. Once it switches from airplane to rocket ship mode, they call that euphoria. The markets are just going crazy. It's like, it can never go down. Everyone loves this. Gold's the best thing in the world. Oh my God, buy gold. That's what everyone's saying, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. This is what the top looks like. Also, real big volume, and actually we'll see, I'm pretty sure, yeah. So, climax volume. When you have the biggest volume print ever, this was the only other thing comparative. This is the biggest volume print ever, and it's going parabolic in rocket ship mode. There's a good chance that's what a top looks like. Also, aside from that, I had some friends telling me how great gold and silver were. So, when your friends start talking about it, that's another sign it might be the top. It's just sad to say, but yeah. Anywho, here we go. Gold, I did a short because of the euphoria. It started to go rocket ship mode. But looking at it now, this could have been just a really, really fast higher low. And next thing you know, we're coming back all the way up to a new all-time high. I wouldn't put it past it. Looking at this chart, we got our trend line here. We had a level here. We haven't broken this low. Let's mark it that this is the super ultra important trend break zone. We'll zoom in on a daily to kind of, let's do a 4 hour. So yeah, basically, you can put an alert here. we could actually also mark this as the super important line, because of how far away we've gotten from this low, right? Like, this is now an official kind of low. Looking even more zoomed in, this is a very, very clean downtrend. Like, we'll do it. Let's just do it. Yeah, let's draw a channel. Because, like, can't you see it? Can't you just see it? There's a line here. There's something like, it's like there's I don't know, there's something on top of it just holding it down. So we'll just draw. I can just picture they're there. That's good. I'll actually lower this down a little bit to grab this top. And that's a decent little trend line. So we'll leave that, see what happens with that throughout the week. I know it's on a 15-minute, and I do have to say this. The smaller the time frame that you draw something on, the less important it is. So this could be violated very, very easily. But, you know, it might behoove you to keep an eye. All right, we have silver here. I'll be quick because I kind of went on a tangent with gold. This one's a different story here. This trend line's been fully broken. Looks like it was retest as a top. So we fell heavily through it, came back up to it, right? Fall through, came back up. I'm actually going to move this trend line to incorporate. Oh, this is going to be tough. This should now be the new area for the trend line. And then what I'll do here is adjust so that this is still accurate, because I don't want to draw too much. Like, you know, I just want to catch the very bottoms. That's great. That's perfect. That's our new trend line. It's the old trend line, but it's the old new. It's the old new old new, right? The new old new old. Yep. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Yeah, that's it. So basically, this one actually looks worse, but the last low to watch would be here, and we'll mark it. Da-da-da. I'm going to draw one here. I'm going to put trend break. This one is also going to move over to trend break line. These are the two to watch for the importance. All right, now we got all. This trend line, I can see it. Here we go. I went from monthly. Now we're looking at a weekly. And let's go to the daily. Man, perfect. See, this is why I draw it as a zone, right? Like, because sometimes they just go way too far in. But, man, it totally held. It's still the top. You know, going on 3 years, this line is just unforgiving. So basically, I would say we have now rejected off of this trend line, and the most likely would be come back down here. The last low to look for is this guy. So here's our important line, trend break area. Yeah, I do not give financial advice, but I might tell myself to do a short on this. We'll see. All right, we got natural gas here. This Fibonacci line that I drew last week was holding, kind of. It looked like this 236 was going to do something, but at this point, it's kind of gone. I guess we'll move it to this because that's the new top. And, this 382 level is in the weekly zone, and we caught it. So we opened up drastically down here. And we opened up below, or I guess we opened here and then dropped below this zone and the fib, which, oh man, I swear, this might have been just ultra stop hunt to trigger everyone's stop losses. So if this was the last low, this opening candle triggered everyone's stop losses that were down here, right? Like, a lot of people had stop loss orders here. This triggered them, and the reason they probably pushed it down to here was to trigger all the people that had the stops at the fib. The 382 Fibonacci, there was probably stop losses there. They wanted to make sure to get those people screwed over as well. That's why I think this is going to continue up, because all these stop losses down here have been cleared. All these are cleared. The people that put stops under here are still good. And I think personally this is going to continue up. Partly from a hunch. The other half was the whole knowing that there was all these stops here that were triggered. We're holding the weekly zone like just barely. There's a lot kind of going on, right? So this, I just marked it, is the important zone for trend break. This is the low. This is the low of all lows. Watch this low. Better keep an eye on that low. But yeah, natural gas, I think it's going to continue up.